Romeo Lavia, Moises Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez. These are big money moves that Chelsea actually made in the summer of 2023. Now, these are three players who created a lot of doubt. And Enzo came in the winter window of 2023, but the latter two have actually created some semblance of doubt. Why is it? What's wrong with Chelsea's deeper pivots? Now we know very well that Enzo Maresca wants to organize Chelsea in a 3-2-2-3 structure with a base 2. Now this base 2 is where we are going to focus on. Why is it that this double pivot situation in Chelsea is problematic? And how is this double pivot in Chelsea actually affecting the overall offensive and defensive structure of Chelsea? The double pivot situation is very crucial in that it's actually the cog in which the team moves. These are players who are very important and very crucial to how Maresca actually wants to play. Now, looking at this clip, we can see Maresca looking to try and form his favorite box-shaped midfield. Now, this box-shaped midfield gives him the numerical advantage when he's facing a 4-4-2 by outnumbering the opponents, as well as a positional advantage by having his best attacking players in areas where they're able to hurt opponents and create chances for his team. Now, the way Maresca achieves this is by pushing his wide players high and wide and pushing his number 9 high up the pitch. He corresponds this by pushing one of his number 10 in one half space while inverting a fullback. In recently that is what he has done, but previously he used to actually push another holding midfielder higher up to try and create that overload. So this leaves Chelsea with a box structure in midfield that gives them numerical superiority, especially when playing against opponents. Now the issue is the double pivots area. And why am I saying the issue is there? Because when Chelsea are actually being pressed high with an opposition team, Chelsea's box midfield will automatically outnumber whichever midfield in the Premier League. And that's why teams have decided to come up with ways to stop them. Now, one key area is that Chelsea have players who can receive the ball in these situations, and they have excellent passing accuracy, and majority of them are press resistant. And when I'm talking of them, I'm talking about Caicedo, Fernandez, and Lavia. And these players can push with play the ball forward so that they can draw opponent and look to play passes to the players in the half space region. But we're not here to talk about Enzo Maresca's tactical philosophy. We are here to talk about Chelsea's midfield and how it affects the overall balance of Chelsea's attack and defense. And because we understand how Enzo Maresca actually wants his team to progress higher up the pitch, the question is, does the pivot actually take out some attacking threat from Chelsea? And do we see how Chelsea is able to play through when opponents decide to sit onto their pivots? How do the players in the half space react once their central progression option is tied? In some instances, we have seen them stretching out wide to receive the ball, and in some instances, we've seen the excellent passing accuracy of centre backs to pick them, especially when the opposition double pivots are moving forward to look to try and suffocate Chelsea from building from the back. And because of this advantage that we see Chelsea having here, we now see a position where Chelsea are able to get their best players in good 1v1 situations that can actually hurt the opposition. The question is, what has Chelsea done to change this situation? Now, looking at this midfield situation, we realize one thing. Maresca has really fluctuated with how he wants to position his team. However, Chelsea earlier on in the season experienced the same problems in midfield as they experienced under Mauricio Pochettino. And one of those problems is this: an empty midfield, a midfield where there is absolutely no pivot. How can that happen when they actually splashed around 100 to 210 million in this position? Again, this is the game against Crystal Palace. There is absolutely no one in midfield. Now, this raises the question of a sitter and raises the question, is Moises Caicedo the long-term number 6 for Chelsea? Before we answer that question, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Now, the position of the holding midfielder is not your usual position. It's a position that requires discipline, positional awareness and the ability to read the game. Pep Guardiola is paying the high price when he has missed Rodri this season, because that position requires a player who does not move a lot but uses his brain to move all over the pitch. And this is why we're asking ourselves this question: is Moises Caicedo a pure number 6, or he needs Romeo Lavia next to him? Now, looking at Chelsea's double pivot, one of them is a sitter. Now let's look at the combination play of both Lavia and Moises Caicedo. Now, in this double pivot setup, we are going to look at Moises Caicedo. And one thing we can see about Caicedo is his overall interceptions, his tackles, his ball recoveries, and we can see a player who's very, very mobile. Looking at his defensive stats, looking at his progressive passes, you can see a player who moves a lot on the pitch. Is that a component of an out-and-out number 6? Let's look at Fernandez here. Now, Fernandez here, his defensive numbers are so down, especially when it comes to interceptions and his overall reading of the game. But you can see his attacking stats are exemplary well. His progressive passes, his non-penalty XGA, meaning that his ability to assist and create chances, is very good. Now, this is a player who flourishes higher up the pitch. Now, in comes Romeo Lavia and Caicedo, and it's looking like Enzo Maresca is actually preferring to use Caicedo and Lavia as his double pivot. So why is Lavia actually so important? Why is Lavia the heir and the number 1 choice for Maresca in Chelsea's midfield? Now, looking at Chelsea's midfield, Lavia is the only pure number 6. He's the player who knows how to play that position. Caicedo is a box-to-box interceptor, similar to what N'Golo Kante used to do under Maurizio Sarri. He's a player who you allow freedom to push forward, make passes, as well as push forward to try and create those numerical advantages, as well as allowing him to stay forward to win the ball. Lavia is a more reserved player who likes to sit back. He likes to sit back and actually look to receive the ball without any form of pressure. This is a player who likes to sit deep and look to just receive the ball. Now, when you look at this clip, you see 2 double pivots, but these are 2 different players. Now, in looking at these 2 double pivots, you're seeing players who want to come and receive the ball, who want to come and play with the ball. And yes, Caicedo can actually do this job well. The question is this the right position to utilize a player with the talent of Moises Caicedo? Because one thing that we automatically notice is that when you play Caicedo and Lavia in this position, Lavia is the player who likes to drop deep, receive the ball directly from the center backs. He enjoys receiving this ball in these positions and look to actually receive the ball and look to progress with the ball forward. Now, this is putting Lavia in a stronger position, because Lavia is a player who wants to receive the ball directly from the center back. He's press resistant and he actually receives the ball when he's under pressure and is able to make those line-breaking passes. And you can even see from these clips in the Liverpool fixture, he was the player who was receiving the ball majority of the times, while Caicedo was looking to act as a dummy so that he can actually allow Lavia to have those angles to receive the ball. Now, what Lavia gives Chelsea is that he gives Chelsea that sitter who's able to sit and just look to read the game and move accordingly. Now, let's look at the Fernandez and Caicedo pivot. How does this pivot work? And why is Chelsea actually facing problems with this double pivot of Caicedo and Lavia? Because both of them are great players, don't get me wrong. But what is actually the reason why? Now, when Caicedo and Fernandez are playing, first of all, both of them are box-to-box midfielder. Though Fernandez is not quite mobile, he's a player who wants to receive the ball and just look to create. He's a player who wants to act as a deep line playmaker and sometimes look to push forward to try and aid the attack. And this season we have seen Chelsea's attacking numbers being extraordinarily great when Enzo Fernandez is playing in that left half space position, because it's allowing him to actually link up with a player such as Sancho in a very, very better position, and allows Palmer to play with his stronger foot down the right. Now, what this does is that it limits Caicedo to play as a sitter. Now, what this does is that if Caicedo does not have an inverted fullback who's disciplined, for example, Marc Guerra, then Caicedo is left with a problem whether he should spring out to press or whether he should sit deep. Sometimes Caicedo springs out to press, and this actually leaves Chelsea with the problems, because we know very well that Fernandez cannot drop deep to try and act as a sitter, and this is actually putting Chelsea in a position where they lose the ball in very dangerous high in that half space position. That actually automatically the team's overall creating problems possession for Chelsea transition phase, according to how Chelsea are actually looking to play. Now, this is actually giving Chelsea even more and more problems, because now, even when they are looking to press aggressively high, what we are seeing is that Enzo Fernandez is being used as the player who looks to push forward and try to cover the holding midfielder so that Jackson and Palmer can look to press, while the wild players look to sit on the two fullbacks. The problem is when one pivot is free, the winger does not come narrow to try and cover this player, but rather Caicedo, being so aggressive, actually steps from his sitter position to try and limit this scenario. Sometimes he's lucky, he wins the ball and actually puts Chelsea in regions where Chelsea should actually score, but sometimes Chelsea fail to do so. But once he fails to win this ball, then a ball can be played to the number 10, and now Chelsea's backline will be in trouble. Because of what? Because of that space that Caicedo has actually vacated. You can see here. Now, looking at this clip, you can see Palmer is looking to press the centre back and use his cover shadow to press the holding midfielder. Jackson, on the other hand, is free and is actually the one to launch onto the goalkeeper, while Fernandez has pushed to pick one pivot. Now, because Fernandez is picking one pivot, and now Brighton have also managed to find a pivot dropping deep, Caicedo steps out from his holding midfield position to try and stop the ball from reaching to this player. Now, Chelsea were lucky because in this scenario, Caicedo managed to win this ball, and that actually put Chelsea in a position where they were supposed to score a goal, which they failed. But this is on the success side of the story. Is that usually the case? Now, when we look in another scenario, we actually see how Caicedo has lost this ground duel, and now Chelsea are facing a situation where they are actually being countered. When you look at this clip, you can see that the Brighton are looking to build from the back. Now, Fernandez has stepped forward to try and press one pivot. Caicedo also has looked to try and step to cover this pivot. Now, Caicedo is late. Now, the ball is played towards the pivot, and now Caicedo is late and actually tries to stop the other pivot. But now, the number 10 is able to drop deep and receive the ball directly from the centre backs. And that is how Chelsea's press is broken. And that's how actually Brighton positioned themselves to score the first goal of the game. Now, this scenario is actually creating problems for Chelsea. But when you have a player like Lavia, you have a sitter, a player who's able to sit there and just look to scan and act as a safety net, allowing Caicedo to roam forward and try to win the ball. Caicedo's athleticism, his incredible stamina, and his ability to win the ball high up allows him to win the ball high up, allowing Lavia, who's more mobile and a sitter, to actually play that number 6 role perfectly. Now, in the 3-2 structure that Maresca is creating, Chelsea need a number 6 and a number 8. A number 8 is a player who's a hybrid. He's a hybrid of a number 10 and a number 6. And Caicedo is actually looking like that player. He can play in that position. He's very important. But as well, Chelsea need that player who's able to sit deep and receive the ball from the centre back, and who is not quite adventurous, who is able to retain his position and just dictate the game from a deeper position. The question is, does Chelsea have a complete midfielder like Rodri who can do the 8 and the 6 role? The answer is no. But a combination of Lavia and Caicedo in that base is very important. But again, Chelsea cannot underestimate the relevance and the importance of having Enzo Fernandez in the team, because I have said that Fernandez is one of the best passers of the ball in the team. He's also one of the best players when it comes to contributing to Chelsea's offensive game, and we've seen it with stats and how Chelsea have performed offensively when he's on the team. But his defensive deficiencies are actually putting him out of the team. The fee, and I believe he is a good player. Enzo Fernandez is a good player. Maresca needs to come up with a solution to this problem. You have 3 good players with 3 different attributes. So when Chelsea are facing weaker opponents, or opponents where Chelsea expect to have much of the ball, then it is important to have a player like Fernandez in the team, and that's the situation that Maresca has been using. But another problem that we saw with Fernandez last season when he was being deployed in this advanced position is that once he was positioned in this half space, he will drop deep to receive the ball. And this was because Caicedo was being marked out of the game, but the inverted fullback system is actually giving Caicedo that partner, and Cucurella and Reece James can do it. Now with Lavia, he's the out and out number 6, he's the sitter, he's the player who likes to receive the ball, and he's the player who likes to keep it simple. He's another crucial player for this team when it comes to having that stability in possession and out of possession. And looking at how the Premier League is so physical, you need this kind of player in the base of your midfield, not underestimating his press resistance and his ability to play line-breaking passes. Maresca talks about a journey in the right direction. The right direction is where he's going. But one of the things he needs to quickly figure out and quickly solve is that defensive issue. Otherwise, he will be in for a road shock. The question is, can Enzo Maresca actually find the rhythm to solve Chelsea's defensive problems? Looking at these statistics, you can see that Maresca is actually one of the best managers that Chelsea have had when it comes to points per game. And considering the tough fixtures that he has faced and the green fixtures that he is about to go through, he should actually strike that balance quickly so that Chelsea can be able to go on a great run that can secure them the top 4 as early as January. Do you agree with me when it comes to Chelsea's midfield problem, or can I say blessing for Enzo Maresca? Leave your comments in the comment section area below, and thanks for watching. See you in our next video.